नमस्कार, नया सवेरा में आपको स्वागत है। मैं आपके साथ शरीफुल्लाह। आज के फेसबुक लाइव एक खास टॉपिक पर है। चूंकि अगर देश की बात करें तो यहाँ पर बहुत कुछ हो रहा है, अलग-अलग से खबरें आ रही हैं, हाथरस का मामला हो या वेस्ट बंगाल का मामला हो। इसके अलावा देश से बाहर यानी इंडिया के बाहर अगर कुछ खबरों पर बात करें तो आजकल अज़रबैजान और आर्मेनिया के बीच जो चल रहा है वो पूरी दुनिया में सुर्खियों में है। दोनों देशों के बीच जंग चल रही है। पिछले कई दिनों से दोनों एक-दूसरे पर गोली चला रहे हैं, बम बरसा रहे हैं, जिसमें से कई लोगों की जान भी गई है। कुछ लोग इसको एक थर्ड वर्ल्ड वॉर के बाद की तरफ देख रहे हैं, तीसरे विश्व युद्ध की तरफ देख रहे हैं। वहीं पर जो और बड़े देश हैं, वो शांति दोनों देशों के बीच समझौता कराने में लगे हुए हैं। अगर दोनों देशों की बात करें तो ये जो दुश्मनी है ये पुरानी है। दोनों देशों के बीच एक जगह है, चाराबाग करके एक जगह है जिसको लेकर ये पूरा मामला चल रहा है। आपको बता दें कि अगर सीधे शब्दों में आसान भाषा में समझने की कोशिश करें तो इंडिया में जो कश्मीर का जैसा मसला चल रहा है, पाकिस्तान बताता है वो हमारा अपना है और अलग-अलग जगह से जो दावे किए जा रहे थे, ठीक उसी तरीके से आर्मेनिया और अज़रबैजान में जो मामला चल रहा है वो सटीक बैठता है। तुर्की पूरी तरह से अज़रबैजान की तरफ है, वहीं जो अलग और देश हैं, रूस हो, फ्रांस हो, अमेरिका हो, वो शांति की बात कर रहा है, समझौते की बात कर रहा है, दोनों लोगों को संयम बरतने की बात कर रहा है। लेकिन इसको जब हम तीसरे विश्व युद्ध के रूप में देखते हैं, तो ये खतरे की घंटी है कि पूरा देश इस पर क्या कर रहा है और आगे आने वाले टाइम पर इसमें क्या हो सकता है। इस अहम मुद्दे पर बात करने के लिए हमारे साथ अलग-अलग यूँ कह सकते हैं इंटरनेशनल स्पीकर हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं। सबसे पहले हमारे साथ हैं मोनिका टेड्रोस हैं जो इजिप्ट से हैं। वो एक्सपर्ट हैं इंटरनेशनल मैकेनिज़्म फॉर ह्यूमन राइट्स और इसके अलावा वाइस हेड ऑफ द इंटरनेशनल ह्यूमन राइट्स यूनिट एट मार्ट फॉर पीस, डेवलपमेंट एंड ह्यूमन राइट्स। और हमारे साथ एक और ख़ास मेहमान हैं, नेली गेशान हैं, ये ह्यूमन राइट एक्टिविस्ट हैं, ये अर्मेनिया से हैं और गुलाम रसूल देहलवी हैं, ये इंटरनेशनल एक्सपर्ट हैं। इस तरीके की जो खबरें होती हैं, इन पर बारीकी से नज़र रखते हैं। और अब्दुल मोईद अज़हरी साहब हैं, जो चीफ एडिटर हैं नया सवेरा के। हम इस प्रोग्राम की शुरुआत करते हैं और इसको ले चलते हैं अब्दुल मोईद अज़हरी के पास। वो इस प्रोग्राम की शुरुआत करें। जी सर।
Thank you so much, Mr. Sharifullah. Before we get into the program, let's welcome to our very special guest, one of from Egypt and another one from itself Armenia, where the incident is happening. So, Monica Taudos, we are welcoming you here in the show, and thank you very much for joining us for this burning issue. And for our audience who are just joining, let me tell them about you that she's Monica Taudros, who is an expert in international mechanism for human rights and vice head of the International Human Rights Mechanism Unit at MART for Peace, Development and Human Rights. The another one is Nelly Deshan, who is also an expert as a human rights activist. So both of you, welcome to the show. Welcome to Naya Savera. And as you know that what is happening between Azerbaijan and Armenia, the world is seeing it as strange, as the world is facing the very critical situation, a pandemic COVID-19, and in is this situation, the two countries were fighting with each other, and the expert are saying that it is not just a war between the two countries; it is also involving the world, and maybe this become a very critical situation for the world. So, first of all, Nelly Geshian, I would like to hear from you that uh, why and what is happening between the two countries.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, first of all, for the information. and possibility to speak about this. I just got about this possibility not long time ago. And whatever I'm going to say, it's not a very official site, so I'm not representing any official organizations. I'm not talking on behalf of Armenians, but I'm talking just as an Armenian person, knowing what is going on and feeling itself. In one word, it's war. It's like a nightmare what is happening here because it's already 11 days. We just sleep and leave the war. So what is happening, probably I can just give you a very short overview of the situation, and I'm not going to go into any historical detail because it is so much spoken nowadays about this. But if you want to know from an Armenian person point of view, it's just a very big injustice what is happening with Armenian people currently. Because if we speak about the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict and the problem that we have already around 30 years, it was there even long time ago. Since the time that unfairly this area, the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh was kind of unfairly again given to Azerbaijani as a, we got this legacy from Stalin times, sorry. And this situation comes since there. So it was kind of policy to make this conflict and the geography and all these things happen for a long term. Some people could see this already in their vision. And this is what we face. What is happening is just a continuation of another war. But the real background of all these things that you call this Nagorno-Karabakh or like Nagorno-Karabakhian war, this is how it is called now, but some people call this Azerbaijani-Armenian conflict. But believe me, it's much more beyond than what you can say. It's not Armenian and Azerbaijani conflict anymore, because here we have an intervention of Turkey, which is not in any side of this conflict. But somehow having, you must probably know about our Armenian genocide. So having all these ideas and unfinished agenda of theirs, so Turkey currently use and abuse the moment to be in this conflict and have their say, let's say. But the fact is that it's just a continuation of Armenian genocide. Unfortunately, we all know that this is the Turkish agenda. So just to make it very brief for you, maybe later on we can go deeper with the questions and some answers. So I was trying just to keep it short without knowing how much time we have for this broadcast, also respecting your time. Thank you. Sorry, your microphone is mute.
Abdul sir, आप
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the information from the ground. As yeah, it is very important to know that the place where the war is going on, it is really a restlessness feeling there, the restlessness situation there, and we Indian can understand it in a better way that the uh, the Nagorno Karabakh is just like Kashmir in India, between India and Pakistan, and this conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia is not from 1 or 2 years. Is I think it's from 10 or 20 years. The conflict is going on as the both country were the part of USSR, and after Russia has gone and broken into the parts, so they got freedom. But the both countries could not, feel that or could not celebrate their freedom as the conflict is continue. Monica Todros. So, what's your opinion that why the Turkey is, getting or taking interest with Azerbaijan between these two countries' internal conflict, if I say?
Yeah, first thank you for hosting us and for this interview, and we are glad that we participate in this discussion. If you are going to talk about the Turkish intervention in this Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, it's not It's not the newest intensification of the unfinished Nagorno and Karabakh fight, despite the fact that it should be the main conflict is between Azerbaijani and Armenian forces. Here are many foreign factors have been involved in the conflict recently, and one of the prominent foreign actors is Turkey. Turkey has granted military assistance to Azerbaijan, even though the extent its aid is disputed and many other countries condemned the escalation. Nonetheless, the accusations for Turkey against Turkey involvement, if proved valid, then the Turkish authorities will be violating the decisions of the UN 2000 upon the non-intervention of any powers in the escalation of the struggle. There is discussion in the UN to limit and to end and solve the conflict in Nagorno and Karabakh, and there is a decision that any country shouldn't intervene and escalate this struggle. However, Turkey is continuing to intervene in it. Many analyses have seen that it's a trail to enlarge its circle of influence by expanding the standing of Azerbaijan in the struggle and by marginalizing the Russian monopoly over the territory in the South Caucasus. However, we can say that it's like a foreign policy of Turkish to intervene in other countries and to escalate the conflicts and the armored, especially armored conflicts in different countries, is not only in Armenian between Armenian and Azerbaijan. Unfortunately, Turkish authorities intervene in the situations or conflict by transferring mercenaries to Azerbaijan following 2 days of conflict with Armenian forces, especially accused by France and Russia of sending Syrian militias and F-16 combat jets to help Azerbaijani army in the battle. So they intervene in the situation, in the conflict, escalating the struggle, sending missionaries from Syria, and sometimes there is statements that they use children in this conflict, especially Syrian children, and they also helping the Azerbaijani army with armed forces. So I try to just make a brief about the situation and to respect the time as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. As you know that wherever the war is going on, the conflict is going on, and as we can witness that these between these two countries, Azerbaijan and Armenia, the media propagation is has played a very important role to separate the civilians of these two countries. Both have observing that there is no enemy other than these each other countries against. Like Azerbaijanis think that in the world there is only one country who is enemy is Armenia, and Armenian can think guess that Azerbaijan. And one very common it is called like very emotional situation, like nationalism is to think that these two countries are enemy with each other. Like for Armenia, the nationalism is to hate Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan's nationalism is to hate Armenia. It is coming from the media. I'm not in Armenia, whether in Azerbaijan, and I'm not having any conversation with the civilians. But through the media, through the news, through the social media, these things are coming out, where we can understand like these are situation are very propagated by media. One more very important thing is coming out, like Azerbaijan is having 99% of almost Muslim population. Other side, Armenia is having around 95% of Christian population. So Turkey's interest is going with Azerbaijan because of Muslim. It is also propagating here across the world, and where we came information from several sites or several experts. So this is also a reason like why Turkey is taking interest with Azerbaijan, apart from like Turkey has a very big import business, oil and gas with Azerbaijan, and also Azerbaijan has invested more with Turkey. So economic condition is also there, economic bound is also there. But is it true that Turkey is supporting Azerbaijan because Azerbaijan is a Muslim country, though most of the people are saying that this is not a Muslim country, it is secular country. Mr. Guram Rasool Delhi, what's your opinion?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Abdul Moeed. I would like to take further from where our distinguished panelists, both Ms. Monica and Ms. Geshyam from Armenia, have left. The question which you have rightly raised can be addressed in a historical and coherent manner. The Turkish president Erdogan has trying to project himself as the next supreme Islamic leader of the Muslim world after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. So he has been adopting aggressive postures since the last few years wherever an international issue arises in the region. The latest among his steps was his conversion of the Hagia Sophia, and then he has also been hostile towards the Kurds, the Kurdish people. Now he has also jumped into the Armenian and Azerbaijan military conflict that started on September 28th over the control of Nagorno, which is a Christian majority. The point that the panelist from Armenia has raised is highly important. This Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict, this is not only about Armenia, Azerbaijan. Rather, it is more about the regional peace and security. So we have to delve deeper, we have to dig deeper into the historical complexities. And it does not start, as the panelist rightly pointed out, it does not start now. It is deeply rooted in history, which starts with the Armenian genocide. And the Armenian genocide was the systematic mass murder and expulsion of 1.5 million Armenians. They were carried out in Turkey. As far the question is concerned, the role of Turkey in the Armenian-Azerbaijan conflict, whether it is politically driven or motivated by Erdogan's bids to rise an Islamic supreme leader. So let's see, it's not only Azerbaijan. See the issue of Kashmir. Whether wherever you see a political issue or a conflict between two countries where the interest of two countries are at stake, Turkey emerges to exploit that issue with a religious prism. So this Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict, which was an ethnic conflict, is being converted into a religious conflict with ulterior motives, and Turkey is behind this. There have been tensions between the two countries since the dissolution of USSR in 1989, as both Azerbaijan and Armenia were part of the USSR. After Azerbaijan and Armenia became independent following their secession from the USSR, both laid claim over the ownership of what we call Nagorno-Karabakh. There have been clashes between the two countries in late 80s and early 90s as well. But now Turkey is involved in this conflict, not only strategically, not only diplomatically, but rather militarily. And see, there are reports confirmed about the ISIS jihadist transiting through Turkey to Azerbaijan. So the case has the situation has spinned out of control now when Turkey is interfering. Internationally, the United Nations resolution also mandates all its members and signatories to stick to their own problems rather than interfering into internal matters of other countries. So Turkey is definitely creating a lot of problem, and more interestingly, now Pakistan is also entering into this conflict, not militarily. It has not yet sent soldiers, but strategically and diplomatically, Pakistan is fully supporting the aggression and the army military attack, both from Turkey and Azerbaijan. That's a cause of concern for India. India has so far maintained a neutral position. It seeks to reconcile between the two countries and to maintain peace. But I think it will have to take a stand for either of the side, because the two Russian and Turkish international positions are becoming more and more clear now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bilal Masood. Yes, of course, Turkey's intervention between these two countries are questionable, I would say, but not in the sense like why we are not going to stop, or but it is under the skin that why the Turkey is reaching or enriching its interest in Azerbaijan rather than Armenia. At one side, as it was discussed in this discussion, that Armenian people were genocide by Azerbaijan people. Let me check the fact that one more massacre was happened in Armenia as well with Azerbaijanis. Like Azerbaijan people were also genocided there. But it is not the matter of discussion here this time. As you know, the France, US, and Russia were the mediator between the two countries, and they were set up for maintain the peace between the two countries. But as Russia has its militant base in Armenia and also a good connection with Azerbaijan, as the gas and oil and also investment. So this is also a matter of concern that a country who is the mediator, or a country who is to talk between the two countries to maintain the peace, has the common connection between the two countries, and the conflict is not from 1 or 2 years. It is from 1920. The conflict is going on. So why these countries like the US, like Russia, like France are not, finding a solution for people who are just facing these crucial situation between the two countries conflict, especially the people who are living in Nagorno-Karabakh. So it is really very important for all those who are working for human rights as well, or all those who believes in human peace and peace between the countries. So Nelly Gishan, what do you think? Like why this conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia through Nagorno-Karabakh is not getting resolved, where these very powerful countries are in position to make a very healthy decision.
Thank you very much for the question. If you allow me, I will just answer this last question asked by you, and later on I would kindly ask you just give me a few more minutes to address on some discussion topics that was already spoken about some cases already raised. So I would kindly ask you to give me possibility also to answer them. When it comes to interference of Russia, France, and other big countries, I assume that these countries are trying to find a proper solution, which is not the war. By any means, it's not a war, it's not these massacres, and they are trying to find a safer solution that can bring kind of possibility for two countries. In this case, I am mentioning Armenia and Azerbaijan because Turkey is out of discussion out of this. Turkey is not in any side, and it has never been into this process that you might know about OC Minsk group. And there were three countries chairing this group to find a possible resolution and solution to come and try to find the possible negotiations and kind of compromising whatever is happening here in the last almost 30 years. But it was not successful because every time whenever there was negotiation meetings with the OC Minsk group, which are France involved into these, chair countries are France, Russia, and US. And they were trying, after every meeting with the ministers of foreign affairs of Armenia and Azerbaijan, who were the parts that were having this negotiation part, every time there was something happening because Azerbaijan was always standing against to this, and we always knew, like people living here, that okay, there is another OC Minsk group negotiation meeting, and after all of this, another shootings and some escalations on the borders are going to start because there is always opposing parts, not to sit over the table, not to go to any compromises. And I just want to also draw your attention on something very important, that why I say that it was coming from Azerbaijani side, this kind of escalations and some aggressions or shooting after all on the borders, because Armenia doesn't want to push on anything. Armenian side, I'm mentioning Armenian side, but I can say Armenians because Armenia in this case is just there for the security of Nagorno-Karabakh. But in fact, it's Nagorno-Karabakh and people living in Nagorno-Karabakh that should be involved into the negotiation process because it's their life that is under the discussion. It's their life and their future that should be discussed, and it should have been already part of this negotiation. The point is that these countries that you were mentioning, those countries are already part of this OC group, the Organization of Security and Cooperation of Europe, you know this. And they were trying all the time to find a diplomatic solution, going through these possible ways to find what is best for two countries, because this hatred that is going on all these last years, and even before, I can assure you, because of Turkish interference in a way. So this was going for a long, long time, and they were trying to find what could be the peaceful solution, because these people have to live in this geography, you want it or not. We are all in this geography, and we have to deal with this situation sooner or later so that we can coexist. Because like none of us can take our geography and move somewhere else in the world just because we are not good neighbors. So this was the possibility that OC Minsk group was trying to find. But every time Azerbaijan wasn't happy about this situation, was not happy about any compromises that can come, and whenever there was a discussion, okay, what would be the better solution, it was always like the whole Nagorno-Karabakh and people that basically do not want to live with them because they were not happy about this.
Miss Nelly Geshian, I would interrupt you here for just adding one more query here. As a fact came to me, like international law has, said that the place Nagorno-Karabakh was actually with the Azerbaijan as per law, but at the time of Soviet Union, it is also was maintained by the Moscow, not from Azerbaijan or not from. It was centrally managed by the Moscow. But when the destruction of the Soviet Union, it was given by law to Azerbaijan. So they people say that if the law, the international law, giving that region to Azerbaijan, so why Armenian authorities, you say, or Armenia is taking that place into his control?
So thank you for this. Thank you very much. It's a very important historical insight about what's happened after Nagorno-Karabakh was this autonomous republic later on ruled by Azerbaijani authorities, but population and people that were inhabited, the Armenians, which is impossible to imagine. If you speak with these people, they have very good and bad cases during those years. But the fact is that, let's go to some historical insight. It's like after collapse of Soviet Union, all the countries, they started to do their referendums and they started to be independent countries, those countries that were in the Soviet Union. They were part of Soviet Union. And Nagorno-Karabakh people decided to do their referendum. It's a very short glance to history. Nagorno-Karabakhian people decided to do their referendum, and an absolute majority voted for being independent from Azerbaijan. People didn't want, so it's the kind of right of nations for the self-determination. And this is also one of the resolutions of UN, and we need to take this very much into consideration, because this is the choice of people. This is the choice of people to live in a way that Armenia decided to be out of Soviet Union and be an independent country. Azerbaijan decided, Georgia decided, all the countries that were united under the Soviet decided to do so. Why Nagorno-Karabakh couldn't do so? And this is very important thing that everybody should know, that Nagorno-Karabakh, Artsakh, this is how we call the country. Historically, the name is Artsakh. Artsakh has never been under the nowadays Azerbaijani country. And if we see legally, the current Azerbaijani country doesn't have any right over the Nagorno-Karabakh, because it has never been under the independent Republic of Azerbaijan. And this is something very much important that sometimes is kind of taken out, but this is also something legally we need to all take into consideration. You asked some important things that I wanted to address. One of those things that you were speaking about, the monitorings in the media, it's all about the language used. If you monitor all these days what is happening about the fake news, about the possibility which kind of news is provided from the both sides, yes, it's a war situation. Until the end, we do not know what is happening absolutely in reality. And what we just follow and can see that me personally also working with the topic of the hate speech and also like expert on this issue, I was monitoring some well-known Azerbaijani websites, because you might know that all the social media in Azerbaijan is banned. So the social media in Azerbaijan since this very beginning of the war is banned. So there is no access to this. You can only follow the official channels. And what you can see there, I kindly ask you also just to check, just for what I am saying, just for the proof. Armenian side is naming the country. Armenian side is always naming the nation, while Azerbaijani side is always calling Armenian side or Armenians, or people living in Nagorno-Karabakh same as Armenians, as enemies. They do not even name nations. So they are creating this embodiment of enemy. They are just provoking more hatred. And this is also very, very dangerous, because we know how genocide starts. It starts from the hate speech, it goes with certain slayers, and then it goes to dehumanization of other nations, after which genocide is just a ready topic. And we at least know this from our history. And another thing that Monica fairly mentioned is like these jihadists and the terrorists coming and fighting. This is another thing that when we speak Armenia and Azerbaijan, it's really much more beyond. It's not Armenia, Azerbaijan anymore. It's our 18 years old soldiers fighting against international terrorists. And so the world should address not only Armenia and Azerbaijan. This is to be addressed that Armenian nation, such a small nation nowadays, is just fighting against international terrorists. But to your question, if this is a religious issue, I would say no, it's not a religious issue, at least not now. We can never know what is in the mind of Turkey, where Turkey wants to bring this topic as a final stage. Maybe, we don't know. But the current situation is that they calling themselves, it's just started in the recent few years, by the way. They started to call two countries, one nation. And they are promoting this pan-Turkism, great to run ideology back. And this is very dangerous. Of course, in the region, once there are international terrorists, all the countries, nearby countries are kind of living already a terror on this, because it will go much more beyond. And this is what I really wanted to address too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this very important information. Yes, of course, the negative propagation or negative propaganda, as I came to know that even in books, the literature has been created for hate and monger and some extreme activity for both the country. One of very famous author, Mr. Yusuf Irfan, I guess Mr. Irfan Yusuf had written that. Uh, uh, I'm not here. Can you not hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear
Okay.
you
Okay.
now.
Yes, I can. You're
Okay.
audible.
So, I guess Mr. Irfan Yusuf had written in his one of his texts that uh, after 1920, the conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia, even the syllabus books have took the place for hate and monger between the two countries, and the children are taught uh, the sorry to say but hating each other, and it is really very upset for the people who are living in the between in those countries, especially in Nagorno Karabakh. But what you say, Monica Taudros, like these kind of the situation or the propagation or the interest of the countries, like if whether it is Azerbaijan, whether it is Armenia, the two countries as are in conflict, it is their internal issue. But the countries who are in neighbor, or the countries who are in the position to take power or to supreme power, these countries are taking the chances through these as Mr. Ghulam Rasool has mentioned, jihadist, what happened in Syria, what happened in Turkey, what happened in Afghanistan, and so many countries. Like between the internal conflict, these kind of the people or ideology or intervention came, and the country the pay the cost for those. So what do you think, Miss Monica Todros, like this situation which is just again arised in Nagorno Karabakh through these two countries, whether they are going to their chance to peace, or their chance to any a solution, or these jihadists, or the supreme power people who want power, who want rule, they are taking interest to more to raise the more conflict between the two countries, like we are seeing in India. Like Kashmir is not going to have any solution the from the many years. So the people are the concern of people, not what country is saying, what is happening, but people are paying the cost. So, what do you think? Is there any solution, or the politics would be going on? The countries would take this conflict into their politics.
Thank you for these questions. But if we are going to talk about solution for the situation, we need to know how did it all start. Like conflicts arose between Azeris and Armenians over the ethnic and territorial issues since the 18th up till our present area. The clash was known as Nagorno and Karabakh conflict, which is a home to the longest running war on former Soviet soil. It escalated as one of the consequences of Soviet Union disappearance from the world's political arena. Since the late 1918, the conflict has killed roughly 20,000 people and made refugees of hundreds of thousands more. So here we are talking about a historic conflict between the two countries. But now, if you look our current area, we found that the conflict is escalating again because of the Turkish intervention. If you are going to talk about solutions, we have to stop the foreign intervention and escalation and the usage of foreign countries to the situation for achieving their interest. As if you are going to say that it's happening because of the religious background, I don't think so. Because the Turkish interventions is like a foreign policy towards the country. They intervene in different countries in the region. The Turkish foreign policy has been widely known for using the military hard power in many issues. Like the kind of interventionist policy has been emphasized by the Turkish state. like they covering because of the humanitarian intervention or religious causes, but they are faking that. If you mentioned the nationalist ideology and how they can use the people and nationalist ideas to get the support of the people to such interventions, but it's not real. For instance, Turkey lately sent tanks and soldiers to Iraq without Iraqis' permission to and use militias, Islamic State militias, and use ISIS militias in Syria, and then the militias and the missionaries to other countries. And this is always escalates the situation in conflict areas. So if there is any path for solution or any hope for for a peaceful solution between two countries, Azerbaijan and Armenia, with the foreign interventions and historic Turkish interventions and sending terrorist groups, the situation is going to be more complex and more hard to find a solution. So first we need to find the ways that stop Turkey from intervening in the conflict and stop any other foreign factors to intervene, and then find a place and or a ground for peaceful dialogue between the two countries and listen to the people well and what actually the people of Nagorno and Karabakh want, and let them decide for themselves their future and activate and promote the right for self-determination. Thank you. I hope to answer your question.
Of course. Mr. Ghulam Rasool Delvi, we know the situation like uh, around 200 rallies happened in Azerbaijan in last around 2 years, where the gas and oil price has been down and they were, facing some economical situation. And after that, the COVID-19 has, broken their economic the condition. Apart from that, these economic condition, they are, making rallies. Rallies for what? Rallies to fight with Armenia, rallies to attack on Armenia, rallies to, just come out from home with all the military and weapons to attack on Armenia. They are not making any rally for economy, for better democracy, for their employment, for their for their children's future, for their development. They are making rallies for attack on Armenia. So the situation has reached to this, that uh, just only attacking on a country is the main aim has remained to them. So, if a country or a pupil of the country has reached this situation, what could happen there, Mr. Ghulam Rasool Delvi? Is there any hope of peace? Is there any hope of, the conversation, the healthy and peaceful conversation between the two countries?
In order to achieve hope for peace, we need to understand and critically appreciate two fundamental points. Number one, as Ms. Naili has rightly pointed out, this is not only about Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict. This is more about world peace and stability now, where different factors from with various interests are involved, and they have added fuel to the fire. Number two, as Ms. Monica has pointed out, and rightly so, that the solution is not a quick fix. There is no quick fix solution. It is rather more complex historical solution. See, Armenia is one of the earliest Christian civilizations with the most sacred sites, religious sites like the cathedral in it. And a fundamental question is whether this conflict, does religion have any role to play in this conflict? Of course, no, as rightly pointed out by Ms. Naili. By far, the conflict was ethnic, and the conflict was confined to only the two warring countries. But now, with the growing involvement of Turkey in the conflict, it is likely to turn the regional instability into an international military crisis. And with the involvement of other countries now, even Pakistan, it is also furthering its own agenda, though it has no capacity or probability to involve militarily. But this is highest, this is the highest ferocity that even Pakistan is trying to align with Turkey in order to involve itself into the conflict. So, as our distinguished panelists have said, foreign intervention is the biggest roadblock into the problem, much in the same way as we see here in our regional instability in Jammu and Kashmir. Cross-border terrorism, foreign terrorism, and now the involvement of other Islamic countries in the name of Islam, in the name of religion, like Turkey is talking much about Kashmir today on international platforms. Never ever before in the history of Ottoman Empire, Kashmir was discussed, but now it is being discussed to pursue its ulterior motives. So unless and until foreign intervention into the regional conflict is stopped, there is no much hope for peace and stability. Thank you very much.
Yes, of course. Like we all know that where once the Saudi Arabia was trying to, take hold on all Islamic countries, and that's why he was, playing the games to make a control over all the Islamic countries. After that, Turkey is also doing the same game to be, the supreme leader of Muslims. That's why I guess that's why Turkey is, getting interest into all the other matters where it doesn't belongs to. As we know that when the world has become a village, so any of internal conflict between any of two countries has created, it's created a situation to involve the world anyhow, by neighbor, by foreign policy, by foreign interest, by investment, by the business, by cultural relation, whatsoever is going on, where in the world the two countries are in conflict, the world is in involvement. But as we are in the last of our session, and it was just the intro session, we'll be discussing in our next session after this episode the political or geopolitics of interest of Russia, where where he was when the war was in Syria, or Saudi Arab interest also is there. But right now, we are on conclusion that leave the militants operation, like what military is doing, what the country's politics is saying. People of Azerbaijan, whether or people of Armenia, what is in their mind, what they want, like it's too much. Now from it's about 100 years, from 1920 to 20, we are in 21st centuries. uh, Two or three, or I think four generation has gone with this conflict. Whether this new generation want any solution by their own activity, their help, there's some kind of action, or just they also are living with their old conflict or all thought of conflict. So the last comment from both of you, that what can be the solution from the people of Armenia or people of Azerbaijan to counter this conflict which is coming and going on for years. Miss Nelly Geshian.
Thank you very much for this very tricky question. Very, very difficult one, to be honest, sadly. After this war, we don't know already what to expect, to be honest, because so many things were done, so many possibilities to have meetings, to have to get friends, in different international environments, in different projects, and so on. So people had chance to know each other, to meet each other, make friendship. And now, after all of this, what is happening? I see that among my friends, among Turkish and Azerbaijani friends that I have, this language that started to be used is very far from being called peaceful language, let's say. And to be honest, now I was listening to your question, and meantime I was asking myself, that would be very nice, and to be honest, fair enough, in case we could involve also another Azerbaijani and Turkish person, because for that reason I think it would be good to listen from different sides, and then the person who would listen from both sides could analyze. Of course, person who is ready to talk, not to argue, not just to spread a hatred, but this can happen from Armenian side and from Azeri. It's not about that Azerbaijani people are doing like this. No, I don't mean this. I mean that for another dialogue would be good to have two sides on this. And of course, I know for nowadays it's not easy. People are so over emotional, and people are really going over emotions, and sometimes the argument becomes very offensive to each other. I understand that this could be your point, that you didn't invite both sides. But when it comes to the country's case and these geopolitical things that you are discussing, first of all, I kindly ask you just to look at the country's situation, just for small analyzing. Armenia 2 years ago did a very big change in the country. We had a revolution, and our government, at least this government, is finally a very how to tell you, this is the government that was very much legal and legitimate, and it was just done by people. The next country that we are living with is Georgia. In Georgia, there were also elections which were very fair, and all the recent changes in Armenia and Georgia obviously were happening to these very democratic sides. And on the other hand, we have Turkey and Azerbaijan as neighboring countries, where I wouldn't be afraid to say that it's a big dictatorship, because this is not my personal point of view. This is what international world, the international society speaks about, because the rule and the country power is just generated from father to son. And of course, in this case, it's not easy to deal with this language. We as human rights activists, people who work in this field, we know that compromising on things that are like Aliyev, the president of Azerbaijan, is going to be in election next year. So he needs, with this war, to prove its nation that he could do something. He was telling that I will bring back this land, I will bring, and there is going to be election next year. So he wants to prove this. And the next one in 2 years is going to be in Turkey. So Recep Tayyip Erdogan also wants to prove its nation that he's the great one, promised, done, and so on. So they want to show their power. And of course, it's not easy to speak in the same language when countries' presidents are talking with each other. I apologize to say so, but when I was reading myself, I was like thinking, really, with this language that president refers to president as mine? If you see the first comment about this that Erdogan did, it's like my Aliyev, my Azerbaijani president is like my, excuse me, it's his word, puppet. And with these games, it's not easy to concentrate where we go. And I think I am saying this from very objective point of view. I hope I didn't offend anyone, because this was not my intention in any ways, but the reality is this, what it stands. And thank you for this. I don't know what is our generation going to do. Less hate, less hatred towards each other, better. This is the only solution.
One more revolutionary gesture the Armenian people has shown the last year, or as you said, that when they protested against the last, the Prime Minister of Armenia, and I think there were around 250,000 people in the protest, and no one was killed, no one was,
Injured, yeah.
wounded, and without any single accident, they have taken what they were protesting for, and they have changed the government, and they have changed, and the protest was against the fraud election, if I'm right. So they have I guess wherever I was taking and searching some facts. So I found that yeah, they have gesture of revelation, they have gesture of change, and they have gesture of hope, and they can go forward for peace, for rest, and for the healthy environment between the two countries, as I hope. So, Miss Monica Todros, these all conversation were just before you, like what is happening and what happened, what is the historical and geographical situation between the two countries. But the same question from you, that yes, we can feel the sorrow, the pain. Who is what is just observing these two countries people, but what could be a solution from the this young generation, as we have witnessed that the world is recognizing that young generation's power? What happened in Egypt? One young person was there behind that revolution against Hosni Mubarak, and then what happened is around the world. So, do you think that is there any hope from the younger generation, whether it is from Armenia or whether from Azerbaijan? I don't go with that Armenian are more, to hate, or Azerbaijanis are more to hate. We are just, discussing or trying to find the way from people, what they say, what they feel, and what they can do. What's your opinion, Miss Monica Taudras?
I think always the hope is in the young generation. Always believe that young people and young people who are able to change the reality, who can create a better world for all of us and for the next generations. Actually, I think that I agree with Nelly for what she said about opening a space for dialogue, opening a space for leaders who already really want to talk. Giving a space for the young people from both countries to know each other, to exchange their cultures, to give them the space to show peace and to feel how we can fight against the hate speeches, how we can fight against radical extremism. They should believe that the foreign interventions and the way that some states or some systems or governments can use the situation in some countries or in another regions to achieve their diplomatic or their strategic interests can harm them first. So they need to take care of their local and issues, internal reality, and they should speak because they share borders. They should integrate in more programs, in more culture dialogues, in more projects that fight radical extremism, that can change their mind, that can counter the stereotypes they talk about each others from both sides of countries. There are some stereotypes they believe for whether from the Armenian side or Azerbaijani side. So we have first to fight and counter these stereotypes, change them, and give a space for the young people to express themselves, to practice the peace, and to take and show them the peaceful pathway to follow. And then we can find a solution and create a better reality for the next generations. And it takes with the all international supports. Those are international mechanisms and international bodies like the UN should like cover or be help or helping in this process, support it, and show all support for them, and like try as much as they can to prevent or to deter the other countries from intervening and from escalating the struggle, like Turkey, for example, like find effective and efficient way and method to stop that, like impose sanctions for foreign interventions, like what is going with other countries and so on. So we may find a place for dialogue for all of people and create our better world for both countries. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you so much for your very important opinions. I guess Mr. Ghulam Basul Dehlvi is facing some connection issue. So, thank you so much, Miss Monica Taudros and Miss Nelly Geshian. Really, for Nelly Geshian, it is issue of a matter of concern. We, the people who believe in humanity, who believe in peace, who believe in uh, uh, humanity, are just praying and hoping well for both the country's people who are, suffering from this pain for years. And we hope and we pray that a solution could come out to take a stop for this conflict and for the war. So I would say that this is not the last to have you in the session. It is an intro, and we would, as Nelly Shian has said, that someone from Turkey or someone from Azerbaijan must or should be there. I would try my best to have some people of Azerbaijan and some more people from Armenia, also from Turkey, that sometime when the policy and the politics or the foreign interests I stop thinking, people their self is found a way for for each other. So we hope for best and we hope for will for both the countries. So for my audience who are joining us, I would say briefly in Hindi what were their opinion. Like तो मिस नेली गिशियान और मोनिका टॉडोज इन दोनों लोगों से बातचीत के दरमियान इन्होंने यही बात कही कि ये सिर्फ दो मुल्कों के दरमियान झगड़ा नहीं है, ये सदियों से चला आ रहा ऐसा झगड़ा है जिसके दरमियान जिसके बीच में इंसानियत पिस रही है। दूसरे कंट्री का जो इंटरेस्ट है, चाहे वो टर्की हो, चाहे वो रशिया हो, चाहे वो अमेरिका हो, चाहे वो फ्रांस हो, इन सब लोगों की वजह से जब कोई रास्ता नहीं निकला तो वहाँ के लोग पिस रहे हैं। और कहीं ना कहीं बहुत सारी चीज़ें सामने आई हैं कि अज़रबैजान ने जो हमला किया है एक दूसरे के बारे में है कि अज़रबैजान कह रहा है कि उन्होंने पहले अटैक किया, वो कह रहा है कि पहले इन्होंने अटैक किया है। लेकिन इन दोनों के बीच में जो मसला है वो है उन लोगों का जो नागोर्नो कराबाख में रह रहे हैं या आर्मीनिया और अज़रबैजान में रह रहे हैं, वो इस मसले को झेल रहे हैं, वो इस दर्द को महसूस कर रहे हैं। और जितनी जल्दी इस दर्द से उनको छुटकारा मिले तो वो कुछ अपने बारे में, अपने बच्चों के मुस्तकबिल के बारे में और अपने मुल्क के बारे में, अपने देश के बारे में वो सोच सकेंगे, क्योंकि इस नई जनरेशन को नए ढंग से सोचने की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी। ये इन लोगों का कहना था। हम फिर से एक बार थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस मिस Monica Todros and Miss Nelly Geshian for your very priceless time sharing with us. And once again, we hope good for you, for the both country, for the country's people who are, becoming more and more restless in the country. So we would love to have you again in our next session, and would send you the links to you all. And thank you very much. Now, Mr. Sharifullah, just go ahead, just wind up the program. Sharif, you are on mute, I guess.
सॉरी।
हाँ, तो
थैंक यू सो मच,
just
बहुत शुक्रिया। जिस तरीके से बात हुई है अर्मेनिया और जो अजरबैजान में जो युद्ध चल रहा है, जो जंग छिड़ी हुई दोनों देशों के बीच, वो उनका अपना मसला है, लेकिन यहाँ पर अलग जो रूस है, फ्रांस है, अमेरिका है, टर्की है, खासतौर पर सबसे ज्यादा जो तुर्की अलग अलग जो सुप्रीम पावर की बात चल रही है वो इन्वॉल्व हो रहा है। सब जगह राजनीति है, सब जगह कहीं न कहीं बिजनेस इन्वॉल्व है, जो उसमें इंटरेस्ट दिखा रहा है। इन सब के बीच जो परेशान है वो आम इंसान है, जो आम पब्लिक है। वहां पर जो खबर आती रहती है कि कितने लोग मारे गए, ये एक दुखद है। लेकिन सरकार जो है वो अपने हिसाब से चलती है, ये नहीं सोचती कि जनता क्या चाह रही है। उसे ये नहीं समझ में आता कि आखिर जनता को क्या चाहिए, वो किस परेशानी से गुजर रहा है। इन सारे मुद्दों पर बातचीत हुई और शॉर्ट में जो हमने आखिरी में बताया, चूंकि पूरा जो डिस्कशन था वो इंग्लिश में था, इस वजह से आखिरी में हमने सोचा कि थोड़ा सा हिंदी में बता दें, और हम आगे भी बातचीत करते रहेंगे, क्योंकि पूरी दुनिया दोनों देशों से जुड़ी हुई है, उसकी निगाहें उस पर हैं कि वहां पर क्या हो रहा है। हालांकि जो बड़ी कंट्री हैं, बड़े देश हैं, सुप्रीम पावर हैं, वो चाह रहे हैं कि दोनों देशों के बीच समझौता हो जाए, संयम बरतें, इस तरीके की जो घटनाएं हो रही हैं उन पर रोक लगे। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you so much for joining us once again. Thank you so much.